Welcome into the Alabama Bass Trail Podcast presented by Phoenix Boats. I'm Kay Donaldson, the director of the Alabama Bass Trail, and your host for the podcast this week. And before I start with all things Alabama Bass Trail, if your mom is still with you, I hope you had a chance to spend time with her this weekend, celebrate her. I was fortunate enough I got to spend time with my mom. I got to spend time with my aunt, who was a part time mom to us, because, as you know, if you've raised children, you know that it takes a village to raise them. And honestly, I got to spend time with my older sister, Nancy, who, again, part time mom. My mom worked at Delphi Saginaw the majority of my life. And so she worked, I guess, second shift for a good bit of time, 3 to 11. And then for the majority of my high school life, college, and all that, she worked 11 to 7. And so it took a village. And so I'm very thankful that I got to spend time with my mother and my two other mothers. It's really a special time. Anytime someone in your family goes through a sickness and you are kind of forced to kind of think back, and it makes you a little more thankful for the times that you have with them. And I'm very, very, very thankful that I got to spend time with my mom. A lot of you've met her out on the trail. She doesn't get to be with us as often as she used to, just because of my live coverage stuff. I don't really have a ton of time now, free time at tournaments, so she doesn't get to come as often as she does. But she's doing well, and she was glad to have the majority of her family with her yesterday to celebrate her on Mother's Day. I got to see Jake and Taylor, and I got messages from Haley, and so I got to see Emma on Saturday. So kind of cool being a mom. So, but this is your post cold front Weiss Lake update. We're going to talk with the winners, but I promise you, I'm still like a little chilled from that event. It was so cold. The coldest May tournament I can remember in Alabama Bass Trail history. And we knew it was going to be cold, but I really thought the rain was going to be out of there by lunchtime, and it just wasn't. I think it didn't stop raining until about 4:30 in the afternoon when the last flight was coming in. And the wind, it was just the most miserable day. To me, and I think to our team, it was more miserable than the 14-degree tournament that we had at Logan Martin. The rain, I don't care how you turned, it was blowing in your face. We had a lot of issues setting up. Big generator wasn't producing power. There's no shoreline power there at Weiss Lake. So we had to really scramble to make sure that we were able to get the scales up and running. And even guys that came in at 1:30 that wanted to leave early were a little bit delayed just simply because we had some major, major issues going on. We didn't know if it had to do with the fuses and everything in the trailer or power cords or what. We were able, because of our team, and I say this all the time, the Alabama Bass Trail team, from John, Daniel on down, are the absolute best in the business. And they were able to isolate the issue and find a way around it. And so we were able to move forward and have the weigh in and complete stop number 4 of the Alabama Bass Trail North Division, crown a winner, and do all the things that we're supposed to do. So, huge shout out to those guys. I just cannot say enough about them. I'm going to go and blame the weather on Luke Duncan. Luke Duncan has given the weather men and women all the praise all year long about how wonderful the weather's been. We couldn't have asked for anything better. We get to Weiss Lake, it all goes to crap in a handbasket, and then Luke gets sick, goes home, strep throat, all the things, fever, chills, all the things. So he goes home. Darian fills in on stage. Jason jumps in, does offstage interviews and social, while I'm running around just trying to keep our heads above water, checking on key fobs and all the things. It was a lot. I'm not going to lie. It was a lot. It was one of the hardest events we've ever pulled off. And so my hat's off to the Alabama Bass Trail team. And also, Nolan Spencer, Jonathan Reese, 20 pounds, 20.44 pounds, taking home the win and over $23,000. $15,000 Alabama Bass Trail money, $8,000 Phoenix First Flight money, $250 for wearing their ABT gear. and representing why so proudly. But we're going to hear from them in the second segment. We're going to talk about their second win in the Alabama Bass Trail, second win on Weiss Lake, and then talk about their current standing in the points. And they've got one more tournament. It's at Pickwick, and they can make a huge jump there. I'm not even going to, I am going to go ahead and mention that they told me Friday night. I happened to walk into Decks and Docks. They were finishing up dinner with several other anglers. I walked over and was talking to them, and Nolan mentioned to me that they were going to win Saturday, and there's a good possibility they could win Pickwick, and they would really shake the point standings up. So it's going to be interesting to talk to them. I want to know what brings that type of confidence into this tournament. What did they see? How did their practice go? What it was that made him feel so confident going into Weiss Lake. But before I do that, and I hate these kind of segments, but I might as well go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off. Before I start, I had an opportunity to talk with anglers that got into the Alabama Bass Trail, been trying to get in since 5, 7 years ago, and always get left on the waiting list. And I had an opportunity to talk with a guy on Thursday night, and he was telling me of his struggle to get in the Alabama Bass Trail and how he's fished as a co-angler on the opens for so long. And he had had several talks with other guys that fish the opens that had asked him, okay, how's your experience going? And one of the things that he mentioned to him, he said, you just don't have a lot of the BS that you have in some of the other organizations. Honestly, they just don't allow it. So that resonated with me. So I'm going to go ahead and address this. We send out emails. We pre-record videos so that you can physically see John and I saying this. You don't just have to read it. You can read the email. You can watch the presentation. You can just look at the pictures if you want to. Everything is on the website from the time that we announce the tournament series, but from the time we start in February, you can go to any tournament you want to, and you can find out the information there. So no one woke up Saturday and said, oh, well, we're taking off at 5:45. I thought it was at 7. No one can do that. 5:45. 5:45 takeoff means 5:45 at the bridge. It doesn't mean sitting at Leesburg Landing at 5:45 and starting your trip up to the bridge. I had a gentleman, as I'm coming back in from takeoff, stand up in his boat and yell at me that he had had someone come by him on plane and throw water on them, which is not cool. You choose to idle there. We idle because we're in a pontoon boat. We expected to have several people with us. We weren't in any hurry. We left at 5:05 to get to the bridge on time. So we weren't in any hurry. So we did idle. A number of y'all were still sitting in line at 5:05. And that's on you. Our team was in place 2:45, 3 o'clock. And specifically, I asked John and Daniel to let me know how many boats at 4 a.m. had checked in and gotten in the water. And that grand total was 12. 12 boats were in the water at 4 a.m. At 4:30, we had a line 2 miles long, and people were upset. So I want to do the math for you. 225 boats. If it took 1 minute to check your boat and get you in the water, it would take us 3 hours and 45 minutes to do that. 3 hours and 45 minutes. We started at 3 a.m. and at 5:30, not everybody was in the water. And I had this same guy who chose to yell at me and tell me that someone came by and splashed him on his way to the bridge and asked if we were done with takeoff, came to me after the tournament and said, you should have started earlier. Well, if I would have started earlier, I wouldn't have had any more boats check in than checked in from 3 to 4. We've been doing this 12 years, and we know that some teams are just not going to get to the boat ramp early enough to make it to takeoff. After 12 years of running the Alabama Bass Trail, having my team there an hour earlier is not going to help because we're going to sit there and twiddle our thumbs because you are not going to show up that early. No one wanted to come and sit in the rain. I get it. But you make a choice as to what time you get to the boat ramp. We can only process you so fast and keep things safe. The guys working my boat check after Daniel goes to the blast off boat at 5 o'clock are 20, 22 years old. They were there on time. They didn't deserve to hear what they heard. They weren't deserved to be talked to the way they were talked to because your lack of planning and your willingness to go wherever and have breakfast and shoot the crap and chit chat and hang out and whatever is not their problem. They were at work on time. We were in our positions on time. I was at the boat ramp at 3 o'clock in the morning. Do I have to be there that early? No. But I'm there so I know everybody else is there and everybody else is in position. If you got there at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning and expected to dump your boat in, that's on you. And I don't know how to change your mindset on that. I don't know how else to explain it other than for us to give you a diagram and show you where the ramp is and show you where takeoff is. I don't know. I don't know that we can communicate any more to you than we already do. So here are a couple of suggestions. After speaking with this guy, you know, we can we can stop putting people in the water at 5:45 when I start calling boat numbers. And the guy mentioned that he thought I did a shotgun start. If you've fished the Alabama Bass Trail before, if you know me at all, you know that's not going to happen. 225 boats, 450 names were announced, unless I had prior knowledge that you weren't going to be there, and I said boat number whatever's not going to be here, we'll go on to the next. Physically called 225 boats, 450 names. Saw you all go through. Daniel, John, that's what they're looking for. That's why they're not calling names. So at 5:45 when we start blast off, I could have stopped people from getting in the water right then. And they could have gotten in the water after we called the 225 teams. The guy said, well, I wanted my name called too. I wanted my opportunity for a photo. My response is get there on time. And on time means that you are at the takeoff location at the time that we start boat call. That's at 5:45. So if you are dumping your boat in the water, your guy still has to go park your truck, get back in the boat with you before you head there, you're not on time. And he continued to reinforce the fact that he was there on time. He was there on time. On time is being at boat check, at boat launch, at the bridge at 5:45. If I passed you after I called 225 names, 225 boats, 450 names on the way back to the ramp, and you were between the ramp and between the bridge, you weren't there on time. You weren't there on Alabama Bass Trail time. He said, you shouldn't have started until everybody was at the bridge. Well, I bet if you would talk to people in the first flight, they didn't want to wait till 7 a.m. to blast off. They were there and ready to go on time. So punish the people who were there on time, the 150 boats that were there on time. And when I say on time, they were at the bridge at 5:45. So penalize them for the 75 that didn't feel the urgency or the need to be there on time. I don't think that's the right answer either. We say it every time we have a tournament. We're going to be there at this time. Doesn't mean you have to be there at this time. It means we're going to be there and we're going to start checking boats in. And at 5:45, weather conditions permit, we are releasing boats. If we're on boat 225 and your boat 38 and you're just getting there, that is on you. Because I promise you, the Alabama Bass Trail team was there. They were in place. They were in their positions and they were ready to take care of our anglers. I'm not going to apologize for being frustrated. If you are one of the 5, 6, 10 people that decided to kind of show your frustration and anger toward 20 and 22-year-old guys that were working boat check, that were there to take care of you, come talk to me next time because that's what I'm there for. That's why I'm there at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's why I'm there at 7 o'clock at night when we finish. They were in place. They were there to do their job, and they did their job very efficiently. But your lack of planning does not constitute an emergency on our part. And I'll say it again. I hate having these segments. I hate even having to talk about it. But what our team went through on Saturday, I'm not discounting what you anglers went through when you're out on the water because I saw pictures, I saw video. I know it got rough. I know it did. But I also know what our team went through. I know the preparation that goes into this, and I know their heart, and they are there to serve. It was a crappy weather day, but they were there to serve, and they did, and they knocked it out of the park. So if I were you and I had Pickwick coming up, I would think about possibly getting there a little bit earlier. Maybe have your breakfast ready the night before. Maybe have everything collected at your hotel or your house that you're staying or whatever and put in your car the night before. That's what I did. And get there a little bit earlier so that you're not frustrated with people that are there literally to serve you. So anyway, that's all the fussing I'm going to do about that. I am going to say this one more time. 225 boats takes 3 hours and 45 minutes if it only takes us 1 minute. That's if you've got your text message out. That's if you're ready for boat check when you get there. You come through and you're efficient and you can back down the ramp and you can launch your boat. That's if you can do that in 1 minute. Takes 3 hours and 45 minutes. When you only give us an hour and a half to do that because of the time you choose to get there, there's not one thing we can do. Starting early won't help because you won't show up early. Delaying blast off only penalizes the people who did it correctly. Anyway, 2044 was the winning weight. Nolan, Spencer, Jonathan, Reese get their second win on the Alabama Bass Trail on Weiss Lake. Second win on Weiss Lake. Excited for them. Can't wait to talk to them about how they pulled the win off. But I do want to talk about Weiss Lake by the numbers, another one of those Coosa River lakes that that are, was under such scrutiny earlier in the year. So we'll talk a little bit about that. 214 teams fished on Saturday. 155 teams weighed in limits. 190 teams weighed in. 873 bass were caught and weighed in. 868 of those were returned back to Weiss Lake. So we had 5 dead fish. 582 largemouth. 291 spotted bass. Total weight 1,852.87 pounds weighed in. 2044 winning weight, Nolan, Spencer, Jonathan, Reese. 607 was the big fish, Scott and Todd Norman. We had 3 bass over 5 pounds. Not only did Jonathan and Nolan win the $15,000, they won an $8,000 Phoenix First Flight money. Cole Walker took home $1,000 for being Garmin exclusive electronics and having the Garmin Force trolling motor. Mr. Adam Bain took home 2,000 extra dollars from AmFirst for having his truck and boat financed with them. So lots of bonus money and contingency money on the line. I believe Eric White was your TH Marine winner for the TH Marine Awards. So he got that bonus money. So lots and lots and lots of bonus money going out. Nolan and Jonathan also received the ABT gear money, $250. So lots of bonus money going out. I do want to say a huge shout out to the Cherokee County Chamber of Commerce, Miss Joy Perry and her staff. Joy came by during weigh-in. She had been to a funeral, and I want to also thank Senator Steve Livingston for stopping by. I know that he is very involved in the Senate and in the budget process and all of that. He's been a huge proponent of the Alabama Bass Trail in the past. I hope that he sees the good work that we're doing in small communities like Cherokee County and the economic impact that structures and facilities like Leesburg Landing has meant to those communities. I want to say we've been going there since 2017. In some years we had the championship there. Some years we've only had a 100 there. But I think this is, maybe 5 years that we've been going there with the 225. And since Leesburg Landing has been built, it has been an economic driver for that community, which is exactly what the Alabama Bass Trail was meant to do. So I want to say another thanks to Commissioner Ronnie Shaw. He was out running golf carts in the morning and in the afternoon. They don't have to do this, guys. They volunteer to come out there, but Commissioner Shaw understands the economic impact. He came over and met with me at Smith Lake because of his concern with the slot limit on the Coosa River. Very involved in this. And the volunteers that came out and helped us, amazing. Mr. Brandy Pierce making sure that we had porta potties and all the things that we need there at Leesburg Landing. You can't do tournaments without community involvement, and Weiss Lake does it. And it's a lot of fun to be there. So to the ABT team, I hope some of you at least listen to the podcast. I want to say that I would not want to be in this fight with anyone other than y'all. You men and women make me so much better. And my drive home, 2-hour drive home on Saturday, it was all I could think about was not the weights, was not the money that was paid out. It was the sheer determination by you men and women that would not allow the Alabama Bass Trail to fail. And we had so many things face us on Saturday. The live team as well. Lot of things we battled through on Saturday, but we made it through. And the whole way home, I was just thinking how thankful I am to have a team that will absolutely not let us fail. And Angela, during the middle of the weigh-in, Angela's in Orlando. They had dang near a tornado come through, rip the netting off of their pool area of their house. And she's going through that while we're up here suffering through the things that we're going through. Everybody faced adversity on Saturday, and we all came through it. And I can't say how proud I am of our team. I just am 100% blown away by their perseverance and their willingness to not let us fail. So thank you to the Alabama Bass Trail team. Next up, we're going to have Nolan Spencer and Jonathan Reese. They're going to come in and talk about their win on the Alabama Bass Trail, talk about what it means to be two-time winners on the Alabama, involved in that conversation now. Former Anglers of the Year. Jonathan gives me a lot of grief about that I forget to say that when I'm announcing them. But they are 2020 Anglers of the Year in the North. Had a phenomenal year that year. And having a pretty dadgum good year this year. They've been in that 30 range, 38, 39, 40 range all year long. That first place finish moves them, I think, into 8th place in the Angler of the Year points, setting them right inside that top 9 to go to one of their home lakes. And I say the whole Tennessee River is their home lake, but Pickwick is kind of special to them. So we'll talk to them about that, talk to them about what gave them the confidence to say what they did Friday night about winning at Weiss Lake, and then what they feel like it's going to take to back it up and do it again at Pickwick. So we'll talk to them in just a minute, but right now you're listening and watching the Alabama Bass Trail podcast presented by Phoenix Boats. Y'all stay tuned.
Research and development is more than just time in the shop for us. It's time out here, sweating the details, making boats that work as well in the real world as they do on paper. From our R&D team to our anglers on the water, we have the knowledge and passion to build you the finest fishing platform in the world.
Welcome back to the second segment of the Alabama Bass Trail Podcast. With us today, the winners from Weiss Lake 2025 ABT North champions at Weiss Lake. Nolan, Spencer, Jonathan, Reese, two-time winners on the Alabama Bass Trail. 2020 Anglers of the Year. Did I get that right, Jonathan? Did I get
Is
that
it
right?
not 19?
I think it's 19.
19.
Was it 19? I thought it said 2020 on my. I had to go back.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
2019. So did y'all win Weiss in?
No. We won Weiss in 18 and can say OI the next year.
Okay. So the largest bag we've ever weighed in on Weiss, 27.84, I think. 1 pound penalty, knocked it down to 26.84. You guys came back to the ramp very, very early that day, I remember. Like around 11 o'clock.
We did. We actually we left we quit fishing at 9:30 and went to Bay Springs, purchased ice, and sat under a boat slip until it was close to time that you guys agreed to weigh us in. So we were just trying. We knew those fish were the most beat up fish we've caught. They were in bad shape. I mean, they were, the water was, I don't know if y'all remember that year, the water went from like low 70s to like 81, 82, and we put the boat in Saturday. So the fish were moving. They were stressed, and our live wells. Phoenix does a great job with the live wells in our boats, but they're not designed to hold that many big ones in a live well for very long. So it all worked out. We hated that one expired, but we did the best we could trying to keep them alive and come and weigh them in as quick as we could.
I remember we had another team, Packy Lawrence and his partner, and his name just Jeremy Holden. Packy Lawrence, I remember they had the same issue. They sat and had white towels on tops of their live wells and tried to sit in the shade all day and try to do that. So I remember that day. As a matter of fact, I remember it specifically because I had a heat crack come across my windshield.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I cut the air conditioner on, it went all the way across my windshield, so I had to get it replaced. I remember
it's so crazy. So we've had to wait twice now, a really long time at these ABT events, and the difference is I remember how hot it was that one. I remember sitting out there and it like sweating and being so nervous and wanting it to be over with. Well, this time it was so cold and we're shivering, so same date within a day or two. To see that, be in the 90s to, I don't know what it was at weigh-in Saturday, 55 maybe.
55 maybe.
Same result. So we're happy either way.
Yeah, I was going to say, we travel, of course, to Eufaula this weekend. I'm sure you'll watch that a little bit since you have an ABT 100 there in a couple weeks.
For sure.
But it's scheduled or forecasted to be 92 degrees at Eufaula. I'm like, how crazy is this going to be to go from that? I knew that it was going to rain Saturday. I did not realize it was going to rain all day.
Mm-hmm.
And then
you
the
lied
wind.
To us.
I know, I did lie to you.
You told us it's going to be out by lunch. So I dressed based off of that. That's why I was in such bad shape.
Kay's fault. It's Kay's fault.
Yeah, that's why I shivered for like 4 hours.
My fault. Weather's my fault. Everything is Miss Kay's fault. Hey, seriously though, like I was sure it was going to be over by lunchtime or whatever. It didn't really dry up until like 4 o'clock. Like it didn't stop raining until 4. But by then, the damage is done. You're soaked through and through. I was soaked through and through. I'd gone through I don't know how many pairs of socks by that day. It was the most miserable day I can remember. To me, it was more miserable than the 14-degree day at Logan Martin, just because at least it didn't rain that day.
And you were prepared for it.
Yeah.
Like I knew I needed to be super dressed well and be careful and this and that. But this was, I had shorts and a like a sun shirt on. And then my bibs. And I almost told Jonathan, I couldn't find my phone. So he dropped it back to me in the water. And I'm trying to find my phone. So I'm like, he might need to bring my hoodie. It's a little chilly. Well, I didn't find it till he got back in the boat. And I was like, I'm not going to ask him to go back up there. But I wish I would have, because I'm telling you, you can ask Jonathan. My teeth were chattering. I was shaking. If you go back and watch the footage, there's some funny stuff we said. And it was miserable, very miserable.
At lunch, Kay, we had both said we had still a couple like low 2s in the live well. It's like, hey, if we catch a 3-pounder, like, are you good with like going back to the truck and just calling it good? I was like, hey, I'm in. Let's do it. So
yeah, that kind of weather to me. And Scott Canterbury said this when we were at Logan Martin at that really, really cold ABT 100. he said that weather will spin half of the field out. Like they will not be able to tolerate it. And I guess we probably weighed in 25 prior to 2:30, like 25 guys. And I think Brent Crow was the first one to come off and go, I'm done, not doing this. But weather can spin people out. But I did not expect for it to get as wild as it did. And when I see video of people, I think LJ Brown and his dad did a video running across the lake midday and how bad the waves were, and 4-footers and things like that. We didn't expect that. Of course, we were dealing with all kind of issues back at the ramp that nobody knows about. I mentioned it in the first segment. Our big generator cranked. Everybody was good. We're starting to plug things in, and we got no power, which means no scales, no compressors, no air compressors for the tanks and all the things. So we start freaking out. Jason had camera issues all morning. It just seemed like everything piled up. And on top of, I don't care where you're standing, the rain was blowing in your face.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, blowing in your face. And I'm not sponsored by CoverGirl, but I will say this: my eyeliner never moved. My eyeliner never moved, but it was just blowing in your face. You couldn't get out of it. So it was a miserable day weather-wise. But you guys figured it out, and I'm going to go ahead and ask you, Nolan, because you kind of gave me a little crap Friday night about boat number and all the things, but you said Friday night, we're going to win this tournament tomorrow, and then we're going to go up to Pickwick and win that tournament.
Yeah, I wish you wouldn't have said that one. Now we got the pressure from that one. Pickwick, I have a lot of confidence at Pickwick. I've spent the time there. We have history there. Mitch and Chandler, we thought we won our second one years ago. We had almost 27 there, and a very tough Pickwick at that time, if y'all remember, not what you're seeing today. Right. And they come in with 29 and dashed our dreams pretty quickly there. But no. Thursday morning, I found probably one of the magical. I wish I had a video with my phone. Shad spawn with fish in them, and I just knew right then with our boat number and with being able to get there, what I saw in my eyes, if everything went right, we had a very good opportunity to win. And not to mention that, I mean, I found some scoping fish. We used the Garmin quite a bit in practice after that. Once it got hot and the grass spike kind of died, I went offshore and kind of tried to find some and found some big fish. I mean, I had one probably close to 7, scoping and some good spots. So kind of felt like I had a really good backup plan too, if that spot or that area didn't work out. But needless to say, the conditions did not lend itself to that. We still tried it a little. I think at one point we had a fish in our bag that we caught doing, fishing that way. But, it was all about that one area. It was special. It was about us making subtle changes and letting it rest. That was key. It seemed like there were a few key areas within that stretch that the fish seemed to want to set up on. And you couldn't just go back and forth and hammer those areas. Jonathan can tell you, if you could give it 15, 20, 30 minutes and then come back through, we would get a bite. But we didn't want to get too far away where people would come in on us too, because there were boats in the area. We watched a lot of other boats come in and out and go around, but we did the best we could. We actually did completely leave the area a couple times and went and did other things. Every time we come back, though, we were able to get back in there. And, our biggest one did come on virtually the last cast. Me and Jonathan were sitting there fishing the opposite end of this stretch, and he said, Jonathan said, man, we got to move. I said, we're moving. I said, we're moving to that corner. I said, there's a big one in that corner. He said, you're right. He's like, there's got to be one more 3 to 5 pounder in the stretch somewhere. I said, he's in that corner. And you can ask Jonathan, I swear to you, got to that corner. I threw my frog up there, walked it about 3 times, and it was on. I hope that you have that on the camera. The way the angle was, I would love, if you do, please send that to us, because I would love to play that back, because I can't remember exactly what I said when Jonathan netted that fish, but I would love to go back and relive that moment. But it should have got the bite, should have got the fish coming up and jumping. It should have got it all. So hopefully y'all have that.
Yeah, me yelling, oh no, on it, because it was going to one side of the trolling motor, and at the last second he was about to bring it back around to the right. Yeah. And then the fish just turned all of a sudden right at the trolling motor to the left to go to that side. And I was like, oh, and when that happens, they generally turns the hook angle. Yep, it turns the hook angle and they're going to come off. And I could just see it happening in my mind, but luckily he stayed pinned. So,
well, y'all had kind of been back and forth Friday night about some net jobs. Like,
so I'll go ahead and say this. Not typically, but I mean, I don't run the net a lot. I just don't. I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's not an indictment to Jonathan. That's not an indictment to my dad or anybody else. But I'm not a great net man, and for whatever causes that, I don't know. I misnetted a pushing 10 pounder for Jonathan at Gunnersville a few years ago. He
That was
didn't let
halfway
me
in the
live
net,
that
Cody.
down. It
Yeah,
was
it was
halfway in
halfway
the
in.
net. But no, but Saturday I ran the net a lot. I did a good job. I'm happy I did. It's like I always say, I don't care who catches them. I mean, I want us to win. I can sit there and run the net all day, but no, yeah, Jonathan's always been a good net man. But maybe after Saturday and me getting to run it like I did, maybe I'll be a little better.
Good, good. I knew there was some back and forth with you guys about the net job situation, and he had not been very complimentary to you on your
Yeah,
net
yeah. Hey,
capabilities.
it's warranted, man. I've had some bad. I mean, some stuff where the fish still got in the net that was pretty bad. But yeah, but Saturday it was all good.
Good. I want to talk about second time winning on the Alabama Bass Trail. You guys have fished with us a long time, and I know Nolan, you fished with your dad in the 100s. How does a team from Tennessee, from Douglas and all that, how do you come down here and capitalize on the Coosa River like you do?
Man, I don't know that it's. I think it's just how competitive we are, and we feel like that. It don't really matter where we're at. We want to win. We feel like we can. So, if we didn't feel that way, we wouldn't fish the ABTs. I think it's more just we like the competition. We're going to try and put as much into it as we can, as much as anybody else. And for whatever reason, Weiss has set up well for us. I was beginning to wonder after winning back in, I guess, 18, if it was ever going to happen again. And then we've come close. We've had a couple events we were close, especially Pickwick. We've had some events we felt like we had a chance to win if things would have happened a little differently. But
Neely. Yeah.
Yeah, we've had some really some stupid stuff happen, but no, I'm glad it happened. Maybe it'll lend itself now. Maybe since we got over the hump with that second one, maybe we can get a few more in short order. But when you're fishing against these guys, the local hammers from Alabama, I know that I don't think we're at a disadvantage anymore. I think we've been around long enough, and that we kind of know what these lakes offer and kind of what goes on. But it's still hard for to come down there and beat those guys on their home waters, just like it would be for them to come up here and beat us. They want to come throw some money on a derby at Normandy. We can do it anytime they want, but it's the same difference. But we challenge, we relish the opportunity to try to be, try to compete down there. I think we've proven we can, and we just hope that we can continue to do that.
Jonathan punched your ticket already, so you don't really have to worry about qualifying for the championship at Wheeler Lake. I mean, you're sitting eighth in the points. You'd really have to bomb at Pickwick to knock yourself out of that. So you punch your ticket, you're in the championship. But being inside that top nine, how's that feel? I mean, you've been there before. You've been Bass Team Championship before. You've been Angler of the Year before. What is it going to take for? Do you think legitimately you can make Angler of the Year again this year?
Oh no, there's no way that we can get Angler of the Year this year with Mark McKeag sitting up top with his. I mean, he's not going to stumble.
Damien and Tyler. I mean,
Damien and Tyler too. That's
both
up
of
there.
them are not going to fall. I wouldn't think at the same time.
No, they're not. And of course, we're going to swing at Pickwick. And Nolan's we're never going to take it easy or try to fish for points or to catch 15 pounds. We're definitely going to go down swinging at Pickwick there and try to figure out a way to catch 25 plus pounds. For sure. And it's just so hard. You have to have so much go right throughout the year because, like you said, we've done it a couple of times now and been fortunate to win AOI. And we've also been on the other side of that spectrum where it seems like nothing you do works out. Every good fish you hook, you lose. There's just a lot of things that have to go right to allow you to do it. And some of those guys that seem like they do it every year, year in, year out, it makes you appreciate that that much more for them. So yeah, it's definitely something we don't take lightly. It wouldn't surprise me because both times we've been to the team championship now, we've been to Hartwell. And I think it's a Hartwell again this year. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised to see it go back to Hartwell this soon, but they do a good job. They roll out the red carpet for us there. I hate the only thing of course it happened at Eufaula, it happened at Gunnersville when it was here. We have fog. That's fall time fishing. Yeah. So but it's gotta feel good knowing that you're in the championship at Wheeler Lake, a Tennessee River. I mean, y'all are traditionally Tennessee River guys. So,
Mhm.
Nolan, what's your thoughts going into that in
I
October
like
on
it. I
Quaker?
mean, so last year we had the final 100 there, similar time. So learned a lot. Really felt like we were in position to have a good event there as well, and we didn't. So I feel like there's something out there. But yeah, definitely Wheeler that time of year. There's multiple things you can do. Obviously, I think everybody's eyes were open to the scoping deal. I think a bunch of guys did that. The flats are always going to play, and then also you have the upper end of the lake with the smallmouth. So I like it. I think it's a time of year at Wheeler that you can literally win on either end of the lake from one end to the other. And I like our chances to do well once we get there. But I do think it is an event that there's a lot you have to cover and look at. You can't rule anything out just because of it is diverse enough, and that time of year with what the fish will be doing, it could be won anywhere.
I like the fact the championship's in October. It's not May fishing. It's not April fishing on the Tennessee River, which is your really hot time, but maybe the lake gets a little bit of a break in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not as pressured as it is in the
Yep.
in the spring. Let's talk about Pickwick. You mentioned some of the teams that are in the top in the points: Mark McKay,
Mm-hmm.
Tim Hurst, Damian Willis, Tyler Kiker. Looking on down, a team that has really been a force on the Tennessee River lately. Fisher Anaya, Ryan Anaya, those guys are right there. They're in sixth place. Mitch Mitchell, Candler McCollum sitting in 13th place. I think
Mm.
anytime you go to Pickwick, you got to look at Mitch Mitchell and Candler
We know
McCollum.
that firsthand. I mean, like I said, they cost us our second win. So definitely got to watch those guys. I'd be shocked if they don't have a really strong event there. Again, Fisher, I think I'm not sure their gap between Mark, but they may be close enough. I could see that happening. I don't think at all that they're uncatchable. Because and I don't know Mark and Mark's history there on Pickwick, but I mean they catch them everywhere they go. So I would assume they've got a pretty good record there as well. But I would definitely expect Fisher and Mitch to both be players in the top 10, and I'd be shocked if they weren't.
Trying to see where Hunter Brewer and Nathan Brewer, they fell to 34th in the points, but I got to think Hunter and Nathan's going to be
Mm-hmm.
hard to beat on
For
Pickwick
sure.
Yeah.
that time of the year. Um, a lot of the Tennessee guys, I mean, came for this schedule right here.
Mm-hmm.
They
I mean,
like that
you've got
ledge.
to look at Jeremy and Blake. I mean,
Yeah.
they're going to be tough there. That's a tournament that sets up well. And Pickwick's different though. I mean, Pickwick is it's not a Gunnersville. It's not a up here. It's not what a Kentucky Lake used to be. It's not even a Chickamauga. The amount of productive ledge spots are not there's not as many. It's such isolated areas. Everything's going to fish so small. Boat number's important. Rotation's important. Now the live scope has changed that some. There's some guys that fish a little bit differently. They're not keying on those community type holes, but Pickwick is different. Pickwick, you can get shut out of things and not really get to fish what you want, and it can cause you to kind of go into a spiral, especially in June. Once by that time the fish will have been hit pretty hard, they're going to be pretty pressured. I would much rather be on Pickwick first, second week of May when they're first getting out there and fresh, and you kind of find something maybe nobody's found. But I think it could be kind of tough. The weights will be good, the weights will be high, but I do think it could be a little tough.
Well, I want to point out that you did say at the beginning of this that you had a good boat number.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody has ever said that on the
Yeah.
Alabama Bass Pro podcast. I've always gotten thrown under the bus about boat number.
Yeah.
And Damian Willis, Tyler Kiker, they've already hit me with it as soon as I left Neely Henry. But I've been hearing it for 5 weeks from them. They're going to be like boat 218 at Pickwick, and they're like already upset about it. They've been
Yeah, I don't
upset
think
about
that's a
this
bad thing
already.
though. I don't think, like I told you, I don't think that's bad. You need to be one or the other. You want to be top 50-ish boats, or you want to be last 25 or 30, because what traditionally happens is everybody leaves, fish aren't biting, they give up on it, and you can roll into some of those community, type holes late in the afternoon and get right. Traditionally on Tennessee River, those fish bite better in the afternoon anyway. They set up better. A lot of times it gets hot, they turn the current on. I'm good with it. I'll swap with them if they want to.
Well, I'm anxious to see that tournament. I think there are a lot of good fishermen that are from that area. But I said this about Eufaula. We've seen two teams kind of be that stealth team that you don't hear a lot about them, and then boom, they come up and win Eufaula. Trey Wade, Bradley Cornell, and then last year Blake Tomlin and Justin Foster, who have a win on Logan Martin this year. What's it going to take to win Pickwick, you think?
Pickwick, I'm gonna say 27, 28, probably mid 18s to get a check.
I like those
My
numbers.
prediction.
Jonathan, talk a little bit about, we need to talk about Weiss Lake. I don't want to skip over Weiss Lake, but nothing was typical about Weiss Lake this year for me. I mean, just, I'll be honest with you, we've never seen that weather before there. We've never seen that weather the first part of May anyway. Talk about some of the baits that you guys used and what you were targeting.
Bait wise, it was nothing fancy at all. I mean, it was, I like to call it meat and potatoes, on the Coosa River. You're throwing, swim jigs and frogs, and the key is just getting around them. It seems like you have to cover so much water, just to try to get around the right fish and fish that are willing to bite at that point. So it's baits don't really, I don't think, mean as much there, especially around the shad spawn. Just throw something white at them. If they're fired up, they're going to eat.
What does mean a lot is making sure you have the Sunline 832 line, by the way, Johnson.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Nolan
I
said,
don't know if y'all caught that, but he had to call me and say, "Hey, you realize, you've been using some lining nobody got." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And I guess on the Academy deal, I said Sunline 832 instead of Suffix 832. So y'all need to make sure you go get you some of that.
Okay. Sunline or suffix?
Suffix is the real
Suffix.
one. Sunline 832 does not exist.
I was gonna say, I don't follow line as much as you guys do, but I didn't remember that either. So I got a friend of mine that uses some of that other, and his name's Gerald Swindle. I have never heard him talk about the Sunline 832. So
it doesn't exist.
832. It doesn't exist. All right. Well, that's good. That's good. I really do hate that you said a white frog, because Luke Duncan predicted that in our little segment that we filmed. I always hate for Luke and Darian and Jason to be right, but it seems like this year they have been so on target with baits this year.
Hey, sorry, Kay, if we can help scratch another, volunteer guy's backs,
right.
sorry about your luck there, Kay.
That's right. Yeah, this year, to play into that, I mean, it's been pretty typical of what you would expect all year long. The fish have been caught every tournament. The way they've said, there hasn't many really big surprises where people went and win, doing something weird. Not like, Mitch and Chandler a few years ago catching the stupid big bag at the dam at Wheeler, and none of that's really happened. I'll say that it won't, but it just hasn't happened yet.
Do you think that if we continue to get the rain that we're getting, like we've had a very soggy end of April, 1st of May, if that stays in there, could it be a tail race kind of thing at Pickwick?
I don't think so. I think
so too late?
If you remember the last year we were here, or the last time me and Jonathan got second here, it was the same deal. It rained, it rained, and rained.
There was a bunch of current.
You got to think there's a bunch of current everywhere when that happens. So I think it helps the lower end just as much as it does the upper.
Okay. All right. Good deal. Good deal. I like the 27 pound to win 18 and a half or so to get a check. It will definitely be warmer than the last time we were there in February. 28. I think over 28 it took to win in February there. That was a good kickoff tournament. I like that. I can't really find a time that I don't like being at Pickwick, though. I mean, to me, the fishing is always really good. It was good when we were there for the ABT 100 in November. So
hey, we've got a really bad taste in our mouth. If you remember, we actually zeroed Pickwick last time. Was that last year?
Yeah,
it was
February. I know. I wasn't going to bring that up.
Yeah, I mean, it owes us. I don't know, man. That was
the wind blew 30. The wind blew 30.
But I still don't understand. We got where we wanted to get that morning. It was protected. I would have told you if we made it there and it wasn't blown out, we would have had 20 pounds in 10 minutes. I don't know. To this day, that's still one of the most puzzling things that's ever happened to me fishing. But like I said, maybe she'll pay us back this time. We'll see.
I will say this. That was the most shocked I have ever been at a tournament when I looked at the results. Matter of fact, when I saw y'all had checked in, I had to go back and I think I texted you.
You did. Oh, you did. I had multiple people call me.
I was going to say, I think I texted you and go, wait just a minute, what happened?
Yeah. I had people call me, making sure that really happened. I even had a buddy call me and say, hey, so-and-so called me and said you zeroed on Pickwick. Is that true? And I'm like, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It happens. It happens to everybody. Fishing's a homeless sport. I don't care who you are, how good you do. Me and Jonathan, we're not Kevin Van Dam and Justin Connell, but it's still going to happen to them. It's going to happen to us. It's going to happen to everybody. It's just, it is what it is. We made bad decisions there. We'd like to say it didn't happen, but like I said, all we can do is put all our energy into making it good this time.
Well, I can remember that day, and I remember texting you going, this is not, am I missing something? Did something happen? Have y'all just, yeah, I
It was that
remember
bad.
that. So it was, but so you're saying that Pickwick owes you back, and I don't doubt at all that you guys are going
I
to
think
put
it
in your
does. We've
time.
had, I mean, me and Jonathan will tell you, he swears, I think we've told you this, like the first year we fished ABT for Pickwick, we were probably on the best practice we've ever had. I think
Yeah,
we had
still to
30
this day.
pounds. That was pre-scope and everything. And we had, I mean, it was dumb. And the same kind of deal happened, man. We caught like 2 or 3 fish in the tournament, and the wind got up and the fish left and moved, don't know. And then obviously to come in with 27-ish or right at 27 and get beat by Mitch and Keller that year, it's like, man, it's just, I don't know. We just can't get over the hump here, but maybe it'll happen this time.
Well, I enjoyed getting to see you and Jonathan and Brian and Brandon on Friday night. And then I stopped at a table before I came and talked to y'all that night. They came in second place.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
talked
Oh,
to them.
wow.
So
Didn't
they were
realize
second
that.
place. Yeah, they were the second place team and had talked about their struggles at Neely Henry the month before and that they, were hoping to redeem themselves, and then they got second place. And then Walker Brown, I know y'all know Walker. I think he's from kind of the area up there. Walker fished by himself and came in third place, took home $6,000. I've known his mom. We grew up together playing sports and different things together. So he kind of gave me a little energy just seeing how excited he was to have been able to do that and had to go out solo. Wasn't really looking forward to being out there solo, and I don't blame him. I don't think I'd have been looking forward to being out there solo either. So really good tournament, but I got to talk to first and second place Friday night. And
maybe that's the key. Maybe we'll buy your dinner Friday night at Pickwick. Just hit us up.
Well, thank y'all for taking time today. I know you have busy schedules. Thank y'all for taking time to be on the podcast. And I will see y'all I'll see you, Nolan, at Eufaula in a couple weeks for the ABT 100. Jonathan, I'll see you at Pickwick in about a month. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
All right, guys. There you have it. The 2025 Alabama Bass Trail North Weiss Lake winners. Nolan, Spencer, Jonathan, Reese, 20.44 took home over $23,000. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be back with the final segment of the Alabama Bass Trail podcast in just a moment. Stay tuned.
Big banks only care about one thing: ROI. So when it comes to your small business, you can expect a big no. At AmFirst, we don't just invest in your business. We invest in you and your goals. With great rates on loans, lines of credit to help you grow, and business checking accounts. Because at AmFirst, business is personal.
Welcome back to the third and final segment of the Alabama Bass Trail podcast presented by Phoenix Boats. Nolan, Spencer, Jonathan, Reese, great winners on the Alabama Bass Trail. Great to talk to them. Great to have them back on the Alabama Bass Trail podcast. When they won, we just started the podcast. I think we started in October of 2019, and they won like in May or June of 2020. So good to have them back on the podcast. Let's talk a little bit about, it's Monday. We're recording on Monday. I'm going to be leaving on Wednesday, headed to Eufaula by way of Prattville, by way of Montgomery. I've got meetings set up on Wednesday, so I won't get there until late on Wednesday evening, but looking forward to being at Eufaula. Can't say enough about the Eufaula Barber County Chamber of Commerce and to Lake Point State Park for being our host. Lake Point is undergoing a massive renovation in their hotel room space and their lodge room space. So it's going to be a little bit different there, but we're glad to be there for the fourth stop of the Alabama Bass Trail South Division. Lake Eufaula, known for big bass, looking through the weights of the last 4 years. It's taken anywhere from 1971 when Wade and Parnell won to 23.95 when Powell and Fox won. That was a March tournament. So a little bit different. So let's talk a little bit about that. $15,000, of course, on the line. Most of the guys in the Alabama Bass Trail qualify for some type of boat contingency. So we could see another $23,000 to $25,000 winner on the Alabama Bass Trail. It's going to be exactly like Weiss Lake, except not at all. Temperatures are going to reach up into the 90s on Saturday. Going to have rain early in the week. Going to slack off, I think, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, maybe Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Temperatures going into the 90s. But I think the fish are going to be just as hot and ready to bite as well. Will this be a shad spawn deal? Going to be interesting. It's a little far south. Maybe that might be over. But I think the guys in that first couple of flights are hoping that you're still going to see a shad spawn. Is it going to be a brush pile deal? Are guys going to be running and gunning? We're going to have a camera on Shane Powell. We're going to have a camera on Chris Rutland, Kobe Carden. We feel like that is going to be a run and gun type of thing. You're going to get up, make 6 or 7 casts, back down on the seat and going again. We see that. Darian, I told him, get ready. Your thighs are going to absolutely ache from getting up and down out of a seat, ready to cover them. Since I don't have a guest on and Luke is sick, so I can't have him on to talk about Lake Eufaula, you wouldn't be able to understand him if he was on here. His voice was not great on Saturday. So let's talk a little bit about who we're going to have on cameras this week. So here we go. Brian Adams and Ryan Lloyd, they will have a camera. As you all know, I've said this out loud. They were my pick going into the season to be your Angler of the Year. I think they have just done so well over the past 4 or 5 years on the Alabama Bass Trail. I think they finally are dialed. I will have to look and see where they are currently sitting in the points, and I just had that just a minute ago. I don't know where I put it. Let's see here where they are. Okay, maybe they are a little bit farther out than I thought. Let's see. They are in 8th place. They are 53 points out of first place. John Brown, Trey Sorrells in first place, 643 points. So they are at 590. So 53 points out of the lead. That was my going into the year. That was my pick for Angler of the Year. We'll see how that works out for me. John Brown, Trey Sorrells having a phenomenal year on the Alabama Bass Trail South Division, and we're doing quite well in the North. They did not get to fish this past weekend due to a tragedy in John's family. Our thoughts and prayers are with him and his family as they deal with the death of his sister. Hopefully, we'll see him at Lake Eufaula. I'm sure putting in some time. I know an Angler of the Year trophy for them would be extra special with everything that John's dealt with this year. Josh Chappell, Paul Davis. They catch them there. They have for the last 4 years. They are in the check line every time we are at Lake Eufaula, so they will have a camera on their boat as well. Noah and Cole Godwin, they had a podium finish at the Alabama River. They are sitting in the points race. I've got stuff all over this desk, y'all, so y'all just have to just bear with me here. Noah and Cole currently sitting in 4th. They had their first Bass Team Championship visit last year up at Kentucky Lake. Gotta think those Coosa River guys would like to make it over to Hartwell to see how they fare against all of those teams in the Bass Team Championship. Zeke and Ethan King, they are also going to have a camera. Don't see them right. Oh, they're sitting 2nd in the points. 1 point out of the lead. 1 point out of the lead. Again, gotta think they want to make it to Hartwell. Shane Powell, Tim Fox, 2-time winners on the Alabama Bass Trail at Lake Eufaula, summertime tournaments. They're going to be a team to watch. Chris Rutland, Kobe Carden, they won there in 2023, I believe. So kind of were able to shake off that Lay Lake, only one on Lay Lake, got the Eufaula win, now got a win at Lake Martin. So we'll have a camera on them. Ken and Greg Sessions currently sitting 3rd in the points, 13 points out of the lead. We'll have a camera on them as well. Rob Lee, Steve Winslet, they are sitting in 4th, 619 points. So they are just a little out of the lead. So we'll have those 10 cameras out. We'll also have our 3 roaming cameras. Darian, Luke, and Jason will be out there. I'll be in the live studio. Weights again, 1971 through 2395. Shad spawn, I'm not sure. I think it may be a little warm and may be over down there, but we'll see. We'll try to talk to some people leading up to the tournament. But going to be a fun time to be down there, be able to get through this fourth stop of the South Division before we head back up to the Coosa River. Lake Eufaula, I still say the Alabama River is the equalizer in the South Division. We didn't have as crazy weather this time as we normally have down there, but the Lake Eufaula is always a great tournament, and it's been a tournament where people come out of virtually nowhere. I don't want to say that because Trey Wade and Parnell, Bradley Parnell, they're a great team, and they have fished very consistently through the Alabama Bass Trail. Last year, you had a first-time winner on the Alabama Bass Trail, Blake Tomlin, Justin Foster. They won on Logan Martin this year, so they're a good team. So I'm not taking anything away from them, but we've had some teams kind of come from just kind of laying low and being that kind of like that stealth team that you don't really hear a whole lot about, and then boom, they come up and win a big time tournament. So a lot of money on the line. No doubt people are going to put their time in down there. Eufaula is a great place to kind of be in May. So we're gonna warm up from Weiss Lake. I can assure you of that. But going to be a lot of fun again. Thanks to the Eufaula Barber County Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Steve, Miss Ann. You'll be seeing a video rolling around about Eufaula. Going to give you a lot of information that maybe you didn't know. I want to thank them for doing that because we love to showcase those communities, and they did it in a phenomenal way. Mr. Chris Flores went down there and did some filming. I think our own Ben Cole went with him. They did a phenomenal video for Eufaula and Barber County, and I can't wait for you guys to see it. It'll be rolling around on our social media channels throughout the week, and then also as we're doing some live coverage down there this Saturday, so make sure that you see that. I do want to remind you we're 19 days away from registration opening for the Alabama Bass Trail 100 for the 2026 series. If you're not familiar with those tournaments, January the 17th will be at Smith Lake in Coleman, Alabama. Then you'll have the June tournament, I believe it's June 6th at Neely Henry Lake down on the Coosa River. And then on November the 7th, I believe, we'll go to Lake Jordan. So looking forward to that. But new teams, you can register on June the 11th at 5:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. That's on AlabamaBassTrail100.org. That's where you'll find registration for that event. And then also, if you were not tuned in May or April 30th, we were able to announce the 2026 schedule of the Alabama Bass Trail North and South Division. And since we're talking about Lake Eufaula, that's where the championship's going to be in 2026. So I'm excited about that. If I can, I will try my best to remember the schedule. Starting off with the North, we will start off at Lake Gunnersville, February the 28th. They're at Lake Gunnersville. March 28th will be at Pickwick Lake. April the 18th, we go to Neely Henry. May 9th will be at Wheeler Lake. And then June the 20th, I believe, will be at Weiss Lake. I think that's correct. June 20th will be at Weiss Lake. South Division, February 21st, we'll start out at Lake Jordan. March 21st, we will be at Lay Lake. April the 11th, we will be at Lake Martin. May the 16th, we'll be at Logan Martin Lake. And then June 13th, I believe, we round out at the Alabama River. Again, everyone trying to get to Lake Eufaula in October of 2026 for the championship $100,000 no entry fee tournament there at Lake Eufaula. So looking forward to that. I do hope and pray that I covered everything I'm supposed to cover today. Back-to-back tournaments. It was so cold, so rainy. Everybody went home. I had probably close to 75 checks that I had to send out this morning. So I'm hoping that I covered everything here on the Alabama Bass Trail podcast. I do want to thank Nolan, Spencer, and Jonathan Reese for being my guests today on the podcast, talking about their win, talking about their experience in fishing the Alabama Bass Trail. It's been fun getting to know them throughout the years and getting to see them on Friday night, as well as the team that finished second, Mr. Jay Bird, Wizenette, and Tim Baker. And then also, I'm just not going to stop I have to mention Mr. Walker Brown. Walker Brown, watched his kid grow up. I'm great friends with his mom. We grew up together, playing softball together, playing softball against each other. Dee Dee and I go back a long, long way. And when she told me Walker was going to be fishing with me, I knew that it would be something to watch. And he went out there solo. His alternate was unable to be with him on Saturday. Went out there and came home with a third place finish, taking home $6,000, and just had a phenomenal day. And he could not stop smiling from ear to ear. And he got me a little giddy up on stage. I was acting a little crazy with him. We had a lot of fun after a really long day. So thank you, Walker, for the energy that you brought to the stage. Tim and Jason Wizenette, Jason fished with his daddy for a long time on the Alabama Bass Trail. He passed away a couple years ago, and it was fun to look at him and say, I know how proud your dad would be knowing that you're up here getting this trophy. And you could tell it was a sense of pride came across his face. And I will say, absolutely 100%, it's the best part of my job is being able to see people do what they love to do with the people they love, and then to be able to carry on after that is really a cool thing for me on my part of the Alabama Bass Trail. Going back to Lake Eufaula is always hard. It's where I last saw my great friend Rex Chambers, but I know that Rex would want us to continue going there. He loved to fish at Lake Eufaula. Every time I go there, I feel like he is with me when I go there. So, Rex, I'm going to need you this week, buddy. So, just be with me is all I can say. I do hope you will subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcasting app. I also hope that you will hug your mom and them, and not just on Mother's Day. Hug your family, love your family, let them know that you love them. Give your little fur babies an extra treat, hug them, love on them a little bit. Get outside and enjoy the great outdoors at the greatest state of Alabama. If you're not here with us on a regular basis, get out and enjoy your state. Go out for a good walk, take a deep breath, and remind yourself to be where your feet are. Thank you so much for listening to the Alabama Bass Trail Podcast. I certainly appreciate it. I know our partners certainly appreciate it. We will see you out on the Alabama Bass Trail. God bless, and y'all have a great day. Peace out.
Thanks for listening to the Alabama Bass Trail Podcast. To learn more about the Alabama Bass Trail, make sure and visit alabamabasstrail.org.